Welcome to Foundation Repair Marketing Secrets, the podcast that's rocking the foundation repair industry. Discover how to boost your leads, raise your profits, and lift your digital presence. Together, let's dig deep and transform your foundation repair business.
Last few questions. What do you think of the big guys? What are they doing right and what are they doing wrong? As an industry, perhaps. Like, let's talk about the behemoths. How do you feel as someone who's got a business who is, I would say, middle-sized? How do you guys feel about the big guys? What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? What would you like to emulate? And what do you maybe dislike about how they do the game?
I'd say number one is their marketing strategy is high because they have a lot of marketing dollars, but they're doing a lot of heavy marketing. They spend a lot of money on that. They're local radio shows, TV advertisements. They're just all over the place as far as that goes. And they have a lot of other ways that they're bringing in leads through the web and that kind of thing. Very powerful there. They stay super busy. And I would like to explore more opportunities for us to emulate some of that. We've entertained doing some local radio stations that are popular here in the area, maybe getting something like that going. But it's a big investment for me. It's not a drop in the hat, whereas some of the bigger guys, it's nothing, to them, but they're doing 30, 40 million a year, For me, it's a big deal. And so it's a big, commitment. I recently spent a lot of money on trying to do some, building some paid advertisements through social media type stuff with another company. It was very expensive for me and it turned out to be a kind of a flop. I should have spent that money on something else, but as a business owner, you have to, if you're not trying and you're not failing, then you're not doing anything. I mean, you're just twiddling your thumbs. You just got ideas. Ideas are a dime a dozen. You got to take action. So even if it's the wrong action, just take action. That's some of the best advice I've ever been given a long time ago. And it stands so true, but you obviously want to learn from bad choices and help you steer better in the future. So I'd say the marketing way, what they do is something I'd like to emulate. And then as far as something I think that they lack in is they have lost touch with the personal aspect of the business to consumer. You mentioned salesmen. A lot of these bigger companies, they have professional salesmen that are commission only. So their goal is to sell. These guys can sell, ice to an Eskimo. They're professional salesmen. Maybe they come from the car business, whatever, funeral business. I don't know, but they had to learn something about foundational stuff. They're not the experts and they just want to sell. And that's why a lot of times they're very pushy with that, wanting to sit down with the decision maker. They spend 2 hours giving a presentation. And some of these other guys that do what we do, they may do the same thing. I choose not to. I do it a different way. I'm not very pushy on my sales. I do give them a solution, but I'm not going to sit where they're with them and offer discounts until they say yes. But that's what a lot of these other guys do. But they've lost that personal touch. Some people feel more comfortable hiring a company that has a large presence because they feel like they're going to be safer or taken care of better. In reality, it's usually the other way around. They just don't realize it. But that's why it's important to take care of your customer, treat them like they're your own family. No matter what, always try to do the right thing. And sometimes you have to tie your hand, so to speak, just to make the situation dissolve itself, even though you're doing the right thing, but you're not doing it right in the sense that you're having to take a loss or whatever it may be. Sometimes you have to. But I say the bigger companies have lost touch with their customer. It's no longer an owner with a family that's trying to do good in the community they're in. They're way beyond that. They've become a corporate conglomerate. You can't even get in touch with the guy who owns the company. And I think, that's important. I think for a lot of people out there, I say most people that want to hire the services of companies like ours, they want to be able to feel like they can trust them. And usually that comes from trust, knowing it's a family company that has a good reputation, a good online presence. So they know they're real. They've been around a long time, not going anywhere. Then you'll have the few that think that they're going to get they feel safer because they're going with this large business that they saw this commercial on during the NASCAR race or something. Some people are different, but But that's my opinion, as far as what I think is what they could do better on is get back to the personal touch. And they probably can't. They're just too big. They got too much going on.
Okay. That's valuable. It's funny when you said they can't get in touch with the person who owns the company. I was like, man, if the kids of the owner can't get in touch with their own dad, this guy's flying around in private jets and stuff, or this lady's flying around in private jet. Their kids, like, I can't even talk to my parents. You as a customer certainly is not going to get to talk to that person at those high levels. Exactly. It's fascinating. That's interesting. Yeah, the personalization, I think, goes a long way. And obviously you can use some technology to help with said personalization. But yeah, there's nothing like it's like the homemade food versus going and picking it up at Publix. Publix is great, but there is a difference. And then, like you mentioned with the salespeople, some of the companies they're called salespeople. Some of them they'll guise it and they'll say a technician or a manager, something of that nature, when they are a salesperson. And it is kind of fascinating, that distinction that you made of there's the people who know the behind the scenes, truly like yourself, and you're giving recommendations. Hey, look, we found out the house has cancer, so to speak. We can go this route. It's going to be the 8-week instead of the 4-week chemo, but that's what it's going to take. So that way, 2 years, you don't come back to me or come back to someone else. Yeah, it is very interesting, the business, that short-term, long-term. It's like customers, a lot of them, what do you think on that psychology, just from your experience? Are most of the customers falling for the cheapest or the quickest or something like that? Or are you seeing many a times you doing the right thing, you are able to convince them, not sell them, but convince them that it makes sense to sometimes spend more money or sometimes have an approach that may be a little bit more invasive, but it's the right approach? Like, where do you see that dynamic?
I think just having a lot of information out there about your company. I've been trying to put out more videos on YouTube. Now, granted, nobody's really good watching YouTube to figure out what we do. I mean, if you did a keyword search, it's very minimal, but I share those videos to my website. So just having a presence. I will also make shorts for Instagram, and it's just a little educational snippets, anything you can put out there to help people understand that when they're buying your service, it's not really a one size fits all. You can call 4 different companies and have 4 different solutions, so that's something a lot of customers don't understand. They think they're buying, it's like buying a car. We're going to buy this same Toyota pickup from this lot for 40 grand. Well, I can get it down in Orlando, Florida for 37, but they almost think that the service, what we're doing is the same analogy, but it's really not. Rarely have I ever seen estimates from competitors that is exactly the same. I mean, they're usually similar, but they're never the same. And I've seen some that are just so far-fetched on how to repair. I'm like, my word, this is scary. But but as far as helping them make a decision, I think the more you can inform the customer is very powerful, and help them understand that fact, and try to explain to them why you're doing what you're doing, and help them, convince them why you know what you're talking about. You're going to lose clients sometimes to customers that, no matter what you say, they're going to go with the guy that has the commercials on TV. That salesman did a great job when they met them. They were very convinced by that person, and that's fine. But most of the time, what I see is that customers are looking for the guy that's honest, sincere, maybe not the cheapest, but definitely not the most expensive. I mean, there's been times I was more expensive than the others, but I very transparently explained why what we're doing is so much more thorough than what these other guys are doing and why we're doing it. But usually I'm not the most expensive. I'm somewhere in the middle from what I have learned over the years, which is a good place to be. My numbers are based on what I think I can do, price point wise, and what material cost, and what kind of margins we need to see to be able to keep the lights on in my office. But it really is just a matter of educating the customer, because a lot of times they think they're like the analogy about buying the truck in Orlando versus here. The same truck may be a different price, but you're not buying the same truck. You're looking at a Toyota in Atlanta, but you're actually looking at a Ford Ranger in Orlando. It's 2 different vehicles. It's not the same. So there's a lot. I see that all the time where people they don't understand why. Let's just throw numbers out there. Let's say my estimate is $6,000 and AquaGuard is, 20. and they're like, what's going on here? And if I get somebody to let me know what they're seeing, I can kind of explain it. But generally speaking, I mean, I can usually know, depending on the type of job, if it's some kind of a, finger space issue, or maybe it's the certain type of wall repair. Just depends on what we're looking at. But a lot of times, AquaGuard or some of these other guys that are, these bigger companies, their salesmen they may not be as skilled. So they're just throwing the kitchen sink and what they know to price out when it's not going to really fix the problem. And, some people like that. Some people want to sit down and be sold, but most people don't. I think they like the approach of getting in, getting out, getting the estimate to them quicker. I would like my sales guys to give them the estimate while they're there, but maybe not do the sales spiel, but to be able to write the estimate while you're there. Right now, I've been looking at jobs more so myself, and a lot of my customers are shocked when they learn that the CEO is looking at their property. It's just where I'm at. I've had some salesmen over the years, and right now I just I don't have a field sales rep besides me and my son. We're the only ones that's looking at jobs right now. And to tell you the truth, we're really the best ones to do it, which is not wise. I wish I had somebody else that I could train up and get them going to do sales. But whoever does sales, they got to know what they're looking at. That inspection is so important. I mean, because it bases everything on how you're going to fix the property, or how you're going to suggest to fix the property. I mean, you could always try to hire an engineer, but no residential customer is going to want to do that because of the expense, and trying to find somebody that would design something to fix the property. I've only seen that a handful of times where somebody actually had a design from an engineer. Some companies like mine will actually bring on an engineer to work for them, or work as a subcontractor to design stuff. And that's an option. You can go that route. I choose not to. I feel like it's a conflict of interest. I'd rather my customers get their own engineer, and then I put in what they suggest. Or I can make suggestions, but I make it very blatantly known that I am not a designer. I'm just giving you ideas of what I have seen repaired in the past, So you have to make that voice as well. You don't want to portray yourself as a designer if you're not. But usually that's how it goes for us. And people just wind up trusting me, my son, or my sales guy because of the methods and tactics that we use to make our customers understand why our solution is superior to the others. So really just all about how you carry yourself and giving that information to them and making sure they understand the process and they're not buying the same truck in two different cities.
Okay. Yeah, the in-house engineer, it's funny. There's ESOG. I know they used to tout that on their billboards and things. And I used to go, man, that's pretty smart. And then I kind of thought it through a little bit more, and I was like, yeah, that conflict of interest, though. That seems, I see why they're doing it. I'm very familiar with ESOG, by the way. And yeah, it's smart move on their part in terms of, like you said, marketing, the bigger guys and things, that marketing, just that little flavor of it and people trusting it. I couldn't imagine someone, let's say, who went to Georgia Tech. They're like, I heard engineer, forget everyone else, I'm going here. But meanwhile, it's an inside job.
Yeah, it is an inside job. I don't approve. I mean, I have some engineers I've met along the way. And I always tell my customers, hey, you can call this structural engineer. I preferred him in the past. I met him on other jobs, and have him design something, and leave it up to them if they want to call them or not. If they do, then that's great. We will work off their design. If not, a lot of times they'll just, go with what we're suggesting. And, generally what I suggest is overdone anyways. I mean, I'd rather do too much than not enough. And, but yeah, certainly. And here's another thing with structural engineers. A lot of times they're not even aware of other methods that could be used to repair something. They think helical piers are for everything. I mean, it's like everything's a helical pier because that's all they know. There's a lot of other products out there, a lot better products for when you're retrofit into an existing structure. Helical piers have their place in new construction, especially in bad soil areas. But, I like to use a type of push pier when we're doing piering on houses because it's less obtrusive. I can get concentric load right underneath the foundation walls. And so just a lot easier. It's easier on everybody. I don't have to bring in big equipment, and it's just a lot better method. And that's usually what we do. And a lot of times customers and other engineers they're not even familiar with it. I have to, educate them on what the piers are for, why we recommend doing it this way, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess, the structural engineer is good to have if you know one. But in the local company, ESOG, yeah, they do advertise they have one on staff. And I don't know if they're an actual employee, if they're a subcontractor, I really don't know. But I've encountered them before as far as going behind them. And, AquaGuard and ESOG, the two big companies in Atlanta, they do great work. I mean, I've seen their work. I have nothing but praises. I mean, it looks nice. It's high quality. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like sometimes some of the sales guys' tactics may not be the best. More so with AquaGuard than I'd say ESOG. But I think that the sales guys may not be 100% transparent or clear on what to do. So they just recommend what they've seen or, whatever they may think will do. And it's just not enough, or it's just not the right solution. There could have been a better way for less money.
Yeah, makes sense. They're protecting their pockets. They're protecting their KPIs, that kind of thing. All right, 2 last questions, and then we can wrap up this episode. Sure. All right, so 3 things that Eric would tell himself where he is now versus when he started this company. What are those 3 things, that now a more developed foundation repair business owner like yourself would tell yourself when you were starting the firm those years ago?
What would I tell myself when I was younger?
For the biz. I know in life there's a lot of, that'll be, we got a whole nother episode for that.
A whole nother
for the biz.
Like,
perhaps
don't go walking down the street with beer in your hand at 2 a.m. in Atlanta.
Those motorcycles in the mountains maybe go a little slower.
Yeah, a little slower on the motorcycles. More safety gear. No, well, I guess, be patient would be number 1. I'd say don't expect, to be a Rockefeller in 6 months. It's just not reality. You put too much pressure on yourself. So, be patient, but be diligent. Don't give up and stay focused, and don't be afraid to try new things. What's the expression? I forget. I'm brain fried today, man, but along the lines of, if you don't do something, I said it earlier, basically just take action, even if it's the wrong action, it doesn't matter. Try not to take the wrong action, but it's better than taking no action. So when I started out, there was a lot of times I was scared to do certain things or spend any money because I didn't have much. So I was scared to do advertising in certain places. I was big using Home Advisor when I first started, which is now Angie's Leads, but used to be Service Magic, I think, before then. But we developed a good reputation on there. I had a large budget, but we, I still have the badges somewhere where we're like the #1 contractor for a few years in a row. A lot of different stuff they were giving out badges. It was kind of neat. But yeah, we had a lot of leads from that, and because I wasn't as well known. So, I should have tried other things, and I did try stuff and it didn't work, but, networking is super powerful. I should have done more of it in the beginning and made time for it. I should have joined the BNI chapters a long time ago. So don't be afraid to try new things, and be patient. I'd say, the other thing would be, surround yourself with people that are better than you. There's a sign I used to hang in my office that said something to the effect of, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. That's so true. You need to hang out and network with people that are successful at business, or at least appear to be, or more successful than you are. You don't even have to be in the same business, any business, whatever. I mean, everybody that's got a business is the same. It's just you're selling a product or you're selling a service. It's no different. So there's different methods, but I mean, business is business. And being a business owner now, man, when I drive by a business building down the street, every one I look at, it's been around 10, 15, 20 years. Man, I have mad respect for that guy that started that, because I know what they went through. This perception that everybody's got a silver spoon and daddy must have gave it to them is a bunch of BS. I haven't met anybody like that in my life, ever. You know, and I was never given anything I was taken from them, so
there's that Trump guy they always debate about, but I don't think his dad gave him a golden toilet.
No, I don't know, man.
These days he's got a golden toilet. He's got a few golden toilets. So he took whatever was given and made it what he made.
I would have loved to have a golden. I'll just, I'll take a silver toilet.
A silver spoon.
Just the new gold. But I'd say that, and then maybe last thing, advice, I'd say, just treat everybody with dignity and respect. That's number one. If you go out with the intention of that alone and nothing else, and not do it behind a disguise. I mean, wholeheartedly, when you go to deal with somebody that needs your help, I don't care what it is, if you look at the focus of just how you can help them and focus on that, that will take you so far, because honesty and integrity is something that's hard to find these days. It's hard to find even yesterday, but these days, today, it's even more hard to find. So be that guy. Be honest and have integrity, even when it hurts to do so. And if you stick to that, it will become obvious. People will notice, and you don't even have to advertise that. It just will it will just be known. And treat everybody good. Everybody you meet with good intentions. And sometimes you got to check your own attitude to do that. And just remind yourself, it's your attitude is everything. So having a good attitude, even when things suck, things ain't going well, you got to try to get in a good mindset, because yes, the owner, the center of your company, whoever's working with you is depending on you. So that helps me sometimes grip back and be like, wait a minute, man, you've got to do this right. You've got to figure this out. You've got to make the best choice for everybody. And it would be that way if it was just I had one or two guys, and that's the way it was. Whenever I first had one person working for me, that's the mindset I had from there on out. Is of course I take care of me and my family, but it's more than that now. It's beyond that, and that's just the way it is in any business. And I think the sooner you have that mindset, the sooner you'll make better decisions. And get out there and market. Marketing is free. If you just go out there and shake hands and just introduce yourself, and don't be afraid to talk to people, and meet these other three companies I talked about earlier, the mitigation companies, the home inspectors, and the realtors, and go there and get involved. Don't go one time. You got to go. Mm-hmm. You got to make it a repetition, just like the gym. And I'm not just telling you and your audience this. I'm telling myself this as we're talking, because there's times I don't like doing it. And I'm like, God almighty, man. I have to remind myself to go do this, because it always pays back. And then you can spend money, to do it as well. But it can be expensive, especially when you make a bad decision. As far as spending money to market, not doing the right things, not surrounding yourself with good people. Same thing, just like with Chayton. Surround yourself with a good team that has good intentions to bring you leads. This is what it's all about. And it's hard to find those people, but when you find them, you found them, and you will continue to do business with them. And, even the guys that are, multi-billionaires, I mean, I can promise you, they have a small network wheel of people that they work with. Even all of them. I mean, Bill Gates, for God's sakes, he probably has a team of dudes that he's known forever that he works with exclusively, because he knows he can trust them.
Mm-hmm. And he had that secretary back when he was cheating back in the day that would hook him up with the girl. He had to trust her.
There you go, man.
You remember that? She had no idea. He just had this lady, I think it was his secretary, setting him up with the girls and Apparently he liked Porsches. So he'd go off into the the night or maybe the afternoon during work, sneak off in his Porsche with one of these girls. So crazy. But yeah, he had to trust her a lot. So you got to have good trusted people around.
Yeah, man.
And
Trust
speaking
those
of which, you
people.
can't trust a guy like Bill. Look at that. If you're his wife,
Man.
you couldn't have trusted him.
Well, sometimes money brings corruption, and even in your personal life, but you've got to keep. That's a whole getting on a religious topic there, but it's important to keep things in check, with your home life. And if you do find yourself making money hands over fist, to not fall into the trap of a bunch of corruptness, because it seems to happen to everybody who starts making a lot of money. But just remember that, life is short, and it's passing. It doesn't mean to go party. It means, you need to give back to the world and make your indentation in it, to leave a legacy. You don't want to be the guy known that was out screwing the secretaries, whatever. I mean, you want to be known as the guy that did great things for the people that he was associated with and surrounded himself with, because that's what lasts a lifetime, not just your lifetime. And that's something that, I think a lot of young people don't realize that, they want to be actors or singers or whatever. And, that it's not just that industry. Every industry was you make a lot of money, and it happens when you don't make money too. It's just all about moral values. And sometimes it seems the more money people make, the more they lose touch with it for some reason. So maybe the Bible was right about the whole rich guy and the needle and the camel going through the needle or something like that, because you're surrounded by so much evilness, but you've got to, just try to tune that crap out and do the right thing always, even in life, in your personal life, stay away from the secretary, man.
It's consistency. And you alluded to that earlier, is the consistency of whatever you do. And that's the funny thing in the foundation repair business is you're either in or you're out. Don Draper said it in Mad Men. He said, you either believe in Jesus or you don't. So to me, it's really funny for our audience. Some of them likely do advertising, some of them don't, and we'll end the podcast with this. I would love your thoughts on it, but it's just consistency. Like you said, you're going to make mistakes consistently. There's only so many mistakes a smart person can make, right? There may be these temptations, whether it's an ad you see online or it's something that you see from a book that you read and you look up to a mentor or guru or someone. But there's only so many of those that you could make, and more likely they're not going to cost you, a bankruptcy. They're more than likely it's going to take a few of those to have you go really in the wrong direction. But with the marketing end of things, it doesn't take a genius to know, hey, SEO is important. I don't do billboards, our company doesn't do billboards, but to a certain level business, those are important. Radio ads, are they necessarily great for the starting company or, middle company? Maybe not. But if the budget's there, it's that old adage of whoever could spend more is the one who's going to win over time. But you got to do it consistently. So just to end the show with this is I look at the things that at least my team does and that you're familiar with, and I go, all right, whether you're a middle-sized company, we're not really working with the small one truck type people, or they just started. They kind of need to get some licks in before we start working together. But the SEO is always around. The pay-per-click is always around. The, ads are always around. The good website that gets people to call easily, that looks aesthetic. It doesn't have to look like it's $1 million site or anything. But those things to me in today's modern era and going forward are really it's just a consistency game. You might have to test a vendor or two or three because there are some bad actors in this digital marketing world and really in marketing in general, frankly. But as you've told, there's even bad actors in the foundation repair industry relative to the ones that are good, like you guys. It's so funny. It's just consistency of anything. You either believe or you don't. You're in or you're not. If you've made it to the realm that you can at least have some sort of basic budget, then, things like having a decent site, things like having SEO going on, and they should frankly at a point just be something you forget about. Get a good vendor, test them out, or as they say, vet them out, which is ironic because they're a vendor. But if they're good, why are we jumping around from vendor to vendor to vendor?
know,
Why are you debating, should we do pay-per-click? Should we do SEO? Like it in my mind, and I do want to round this out with your thoughts again. Like, why do you think that's even a debate for the companies that are established? If you found a good partner or a good vendor, why are we dabbling? We need these things. I mean, there's not a maybe or possibly. If you have a basic budget, I'm not talking, tens of thousands a month, but if you have a basic budget, to me, it seems very obvious to at least cover the bases on the internet. The billboards, the newspaper, the this, that, those are a whole nother world. I am not an expert on that. But why do you think that is, that people play these dabble games with digital companies, or they're out of it? Like, I would think you have to be bought in today's modern age.
Yeah, man, you've got to. I mean, there's an old saying: you can't make money without spending money. So you have to invest. You got to spend, constantly reinvest in yourself and your company, and you do that, either by the SEO ongoing. That can never stop, because it's always changing and evolving. And the more SEO you're built within your site with new articles, blog, whatever you're doing to gain SEO traction, it just keeps you fresh in the search engines. It helps you be able to be found better. It just gives you more credibility. And SEO ongoing, to pay a service to do that, is really not that expensive. In the grand scheme of things, it's not. Pay-per-click, that can get expensive, but you set a budget and you use it as
right.
a test. You got to use it as a testing playground, and you find things that work. You find some keywords that maybe that are not too expensive, that's maybe in your area that you can compete with, and it will do well for you. But you've got to have some money in there to budget for it. At the time, I've done pay-per-click campaigns before, and in the early days, I did them. I set a budget. I think I was at the time maybe $2,000 or $1,500.
Oh, wow.
And for me, that was a lot. I was
absolutely
gambling. I felt like that. I'm about to roll that wheel with my last $10. I'm putting it on bread or whatever. But but just things you just have to do. Those are going to pay back. Now, I think, to answer your question, I think some companies that dabble, it's just because they don't really have the money, or they don't think they have the money. A lot of them have the money. They just are not cool with losing the money. That's the thing. They think they're going to lose the money. Even a bad investment is like investment, meaning, okay, so we did a pay-per-click campaign. Let's say we spent $6,000 over a period of a few months, and we sold one job, or we sold no jobs, for goodness sakes. Okay, well, is that really a loss? No. What'd you learn? You learned that whatever in your pay-per-click campaign is not working. Does it mean it doesn't work? No. It just means that maybe you need to try a different strategy. It's working. If it didn't work, nobody'd be doing it. Home Advisor, or those other lead generation services, Angie's Leads or whatever, Yelp and all that. I wouldn't advise Yelp, but Angie's Leads, those other guys, set a budget. Go for it. You'll get thrown out there with 3 to 5 other contractors. I mean, whatever. It gets you in front of somebody. It's money well spent. If it's $70 or $80 a lead, you can set a budget. I think the time when I was doing it, I think I was $2,500 or something like that a month. And there was some weeks we'd burn through that in 1 week. There was sometimes we didn't. It just depended on the weather. But we learned from it, and we created. It's better to get out there and work and work on building your company, even though you're having to spend a lot of money to market yourself along the way. Like, everything you make may go right back into marketing, but it's what you have to do. You can't, you build this little company without spending any money. You're just going to stay a little bitty company. And if things dry up for a minute, you're going to go under. You're not going to survive. So this is why it's important to invest in your company and learn along the way. Find the money, budget what you can, and stay dedicated. Give it a chance. Don't just pay 1 month and be like, oh, this didn't work. No, you got to try it for a while. And it takes 3 to 6 months on any SEO or any pay-per-click campaign to get optimized. Sometimes you can have results with pay-per-click pretty quick, depending on, who's setting it up and what kind of keywords you're targeting, who you're competing with. And then, Angie's leads, those types of things, you can get results for that pretty fast. But yeah, it's just being patient. I think companies they're just uncomfortable paying anybody money, not trying it. They're just uncomfortable with losing the money. It's like when you walk into like I mentioned, the casino earlier. Don't walk into a casino with that. Have a budget you're willing to lose. That's the mindset you need to have, and be okay with that. And it's okay to lose. Every business, you have to lose if you're going to win. If you talk to any business owner out there, they're not going to tell you about every time they freaking lost. They're going to tell you about the 1 or 2 times they won, but they're not going to tell you about the 100 times they spent trying to knock it out of the park. How many times they struck out before they hit the grand slam? I mean, that's just the way it is. And you try to mitigate some of that along the way, but there again, you surround yourself with good people that you trust, and for SEO type stuff and pay-per-click campaigns, unfortunately, there's no overnight success. It takes some time, and just having people that you trust and keeping you informed with what's going on in the process, and maybe looking at the numbers, looking at what you could do different, what could be tweaked. That's what's more important than just being like, I want to pay somebody $500 this month and I expect $50,000 worth of leads in return. That's just not reality. It's just not going to happen, So, it can get expensive. There's companies out there that are paying a dizzying amount of money for pay-per-click campaigns. It is like, for real, that much. There's no way I could compete with that. But I try to fit in where I can get in, So I look at what I can do, where I think we'll have a presence and have a little bit of bite, and that's what I shoot for. But some of those bigger guys, you're not gonna. They got too much invested. So, and that's why they're the bigger guys. They're the 1%ers. It doesn't happen overnight, despite what somebody on YouTube might tell you.
Yeah, well, and you like kind of tear at their heels. You could be the family restaurant, right? Like, that's one of the things that you guys lead with is your strengths. Like, we're family based. Okay, immediately a lot of people are going to lean your way relative to being like, hey, we're corporate based. Like, okay, well, I'm not a corporate person. Like, I'm going to go your way. You just kind of look at those things that you could do the differentiation. They're big. Well, that's a good and a bad thing. I know with lawyers, as an example, they say we're the biggest and size matters and we've won all these billions of dollars. Yeah, sure. But also your lawyers don't care if you make 4,000, 40,000, 4 million, whatever. Obviously, the lawyers want to get the highest number, but they also have 190 other cases that one lawyer's handling. If you go to a boutique firm where 5 lawyers are in together and they're only managing 40 cases at a time, I think those lawyers are going to care if that's a $4 million payout or a $4,000 payout. The big guys, they got other stuff landing for millions of dollars without them having to put a lot of effort into. So you do got to shake it out. And that's where a lot of credit goes to companies like yours, where you guys certainly aren't the smallest. You certainly aren't the biggest, but you guys get the job done and get the job done right while really looking out for your customers and, your clients, really. So cool. We're going to wrap it up. This is another episode. This is Eric Morris out in Atlanta, Waterproof Group. And this is Foundation Repair Marketing Secrets. See you guys on the flip side.
Thanks for joining us today for another revealing episode of Foundation Repair Marketing Secrets. Don't forget to subscribe so you can keep discovering the tools, tactics, and techniques to ensure your online presence is as solid as the foundations you repair. Keep digging deep, and we'll see you in the next episode.